Charuni Padabanda Sanchez, and join me in welcoming them to the chamber. Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, members of the judiciary are ready to enter the chamber for the joint session.
Please admit the members of the judiciary, and please join me in welcoming them to the chamber. Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Sorry, but she wants to talk. Madam President, the statewide elected officials, along with the presidents and representatives of the University of Delaware, Delaware State University, Delaware Technical Community College, they are ready to enter the chamber for the joint session.
Please admit the statewide elected officials, along with the presidents and representatives of the University of Delaware, Delaware State University, and Delaware Technical Community College, and please join me in welcoming them to the chamber.
Wait a second, you're not sitting there.
Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, members of the governor, excuse me. Madam President, the members of the governor's cabinet are ready to enter the chamber for the joint session.
Please admit the members of the of the governor's cabinet, and join me in welcoming them to the chamber.
Maybe they didn't get the memo.
Welcome to the members of the governor's cabinet. Members and guests, please take your seats.
The most important guest.
Sorry. I'm gonna do my best, Melanie, not to hurt you a lot, I'm sorry. To the worst seat in the seat.
Senator Townsend.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the Senate and House meet in joint session for the purpose of hearing an address by Governor Matthew Meyer.
If no objection, so ordered. Senator Townsend.
Madam President, I move you, as President of the Senate, preside over the joint session.
If no objection, so ordered. Senator Townsend.
Madam President, I move the Secretary of the Senate and the Chief Clerk of the House act as secretaries to the joint session.
If no objection, so ordered. Senator Townsend.
Madam President, I move you appoint a committee of 4 to escort the Governor of the State of Delaware to the joint session.
If no objection, so ordered. I hereby appoint Senator Cruz, spokesperson, Senator Wilson, Representative Kamala Smith, and Representative Jones-Giltner to form a committee to escort the governor to the Senate chamber. The joint session is in a standing recess until the governor arrives. I'd like to acknowledge one of our special guests in the back of the room who may hold the record for the most state-of-the-state attendances in the history of Delaware, former Senator Nancy Cook. Would you stand and be recognized? And thank you for being here today. The joint session is reconvened. Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Madam President, the escort party with the Governor Matthew Meyer has arrived and is ready to enter the chamber.
Please admit the escort party along with the governor. Senator Cruz.
Madam President, on behalf of the Escort Committee, it's my pleasure to present the Honorable Matthew Meyer, Governor of the State of Delaware, to this joint session of the 153rd General Assembly.
Thank you.
Welcome, Governor Meyer, on behalf of the Senate and the House of Representatives. We're looking forward to hearing your address. Thank you for approaching the dais, and please proceed with your address.
Thank you. Be seated. Wow, this is bigger than county council chambers. Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you all, and thank you for welcoming me to Legislative Hall. To Lieutenant Governor Gay, President Pro Tem Sokola, Speaker Minor Brown, members of the 153rd General Assembly, the leaders and members of the judiciary, statewide elected officials, members of the cabinet, my fellow Delawareans, and all those gathered today and watching online. I'm grateful for the opportunity and the invitation to join you in this chamber today. I want to especially thank the House and Senate leadership for scheduling this session during my son Levi's nap time. Makes it a little easier. I want to recognize some of our local elected leaders who are here today. Thank you to Sussex County Administrator Todd Lawson, Kent County Administrator Kevin Sipple, and Marcus Henry, the second best county executive Newcastle County has ever had. To Mayor Christensen of Dover, thank you for letting all of us come into your beautiful town. Mayor Branner of Middletown, and Mayor Kulata of Milford, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today, and thank you for your endless work to deliver for Delawareans. To every Delawarean, that's all right, we can clap for him. To every Delawarean, thank you. I'm humbled to stand before you as the 76th governor of this great state. Right now, as I speak, this afternoon, there are thousands of educators across all of our communities working hard to teach our next generation. And 11 years ago, I was one of them. And to now stand here as a former public school teacher, a former U.S. diplomat, a small business owner, a husband, a dad, and now as your governor is truly the honor of a lifetime. Because this is Delaware, a state where a teacher in a classroom who believes in his students and that things can change can take a chance and fight to make a difference. I know this honor comes with responsibility, the responsibility to keep Delawareans healthy and safe, the responsibility to improve our schools, the responsibility to reduce costs, the responsibility to protect every person who calls this state home. Today, that responsibility is more vital than ever. For years, we've seen a federal government that, for all its flaws, provided stability and support to states and communities. That stability has now been shaken. That support is unraveling, and we are already feeling the consequences. Families are still facing increasing costs at the grocery store while their retirement savings disappear. And too many Delawareans who once trusted the federal government to guard their freedoms are now witnessing that very government reaching to strip those freedoms away. On that note, we owe a debt of gratitude to Senators Coons and Blunt Rochester and Congresswoman McBride for fighting They're fighting so hard every day in Washington for Delawareans. And we especially thank our Attorney General, Kathy Jennings. To the Delaware Department of Justice attorneys and staff, thank you for your round-the-clock work protecting our residents and ensuring that no one in our nation is above the law. I also want to welcome home and congratulate the new members here at Legislative Hall, Senators Cruz and Siegfried. Representatives Ortega, Ross Levin, Snyder Hall, Cam Smith, Burns, and Gorman. As a fellow new guy here, I look forward to working with each of you. I also want to thank former Governor Carney. You know, last week I was being introduced, and they kept mispronouncing my name as Governor Meyer. And it's good to know that here in Delaware, and only here in Delaware, we truly do have a Governor Meyer. To my mom and dad, Bob and Ellen, who are here. Thank you. As parents out there know, it has not always been the easiest road. 14 years ago, I got off the plane to come home from Iraq, uncertain what my future had in store for me, but you always stood by me. Thank you for your love, your guidance, and for supporting your son, who just a few years ago had dinner with you with this crazy idea that I was going to run for office. And to my wife, Dr. Lauren, our First Lady. Thank you seems insufficient. Dr. Lauren may, in fact, be the busiest person in America. Thanks for making it down here in person today. What you do every day for your patients in the emergency room, our family, and our state is quite honestly extraordinary, and you are extraordinary, so thank you. So now to the fun stuff. In building this year's budget, our team is managing incredible revenues, incredible swings in revenues and expenses in the tens of millions of dollars, sometimes from 1 hour or day to the next, sometimes from one headline out of Washington to the next. We're also managing expectations from Delawareans and Delaware organizations that have seen their state funding double or triple in recent years with the support of one-time federal pandemic funds and other budgetary increases. Now, the times have rapidly changed. Federal pandemic funding has completely stopped, and financial projections suggest a return to pre-pandemic funding levels. At a time when our country sometimes seems ready to split in half, I'm asking all of you here today, so many of us who get pulled to one side or the other by partisanship and words of division, to join with me in putting Delaware and Delawareans first. No matter what happens in Washington, D.C., Delaware has to deliver. We must close the gap between our stated values and the actual outcomes we produce. We have to make the math work. We have to get results, and we have to protect the Delawareans who rely on us the most. As public servants, we each have our own ideas on how best to serve our constituents. That means that sometimes we're going to disagree on how to solve the biggest challenges of our time, and that's good, that's healthy. That's democracy at its most basic level. But I know that on so many core Delaware values, we agree. We agree that government should be transparent and efficient. We agree that government should make life easier for people, not harder. We agree that every Delawarean should have access to the highest quality education, affordable health care, stable housing, good-paying jobs, and grocery and utility bills that don't break the bank. And that's why I'm here today, asking for your partnership, your collaboration. Together, we can navigate these challenges. Together, we can build a state that not only endures, but emerges stronger, more equitable, and more prosperous than ever before. Let me take a moment to speak directly to those in this chamber, offering unconditional support to the current leadership in Washington. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot offer your full-throated support for a federal administration that is slashing hundreds of millions of dollars in critical funds to our state and promoting tariffs that are literally crippling our economy. And then in the very next sentence, rise in opposition to responsible and hard decisions we're making here in Delaware to meet those challenges. In other words, you can't give more fuel to the arsonist with one hand and then with the other hand point your finger disapprovingly and say we're not putting out the fires fast enough. We have to be able to work together, and we have to be responsible in that work. Now, hear me now, Delaware. We will not run from a fight, and we will never let someone else define who we are, who we love, or what we as a state value. We are indeed a state of neighbors. If our neighbors are under threat, we are all under threat. Because we don't run from a challenge. We're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to get to work. We don't make promises, we make plans, and we turn those plans into progress. On my very first day as governor, minutes after I was sworn in, I signed my first executive order to increase youth apprenticeships and internships across state government. We are not going to waste time when it comes to improving the lives of Delawareans, particularly our kids. Since then, thanks to the advocacy of many in this chamber, we signed executive orders that increase transparency in state government, improve our food and nutrition system, and streamline permitting for affordable housing. As the lowest lying state in the nation, with coastal areas that are starting to show the effects of climate change, our administration, led by DENREC, is collaborating with local governments on resilience and how we can better protect every part of Delaware. Working with Senator Hansen, Representative Heffernan, Representative Phillips, and Representative Ross Levin, we have an energy package making its way through the legislature that will help bring down costs for Delawareans. Thanks to Lieutenant Governor Gay, Senator Townsend, Representative Griffith, Secretary Patibana Sanchez, and leadership in both chambers, we're boosting our corporate franchise, protecting 1/3 of our state budget, and ensuring Delaware's Court of Chancery remains a crown jewel of America's legal system. At a time when the federal government is doubling down on tax cuts from 2017, where the majority of the benefits go to the wealthiest, we're readjusting the scales to ensure the richest pay their share and working class Delawareans get a fair shake. When our budget passes, we will reduce income taxes for 92% of Delaware taxpayers, the first reduction in our state income tax in decades, and add new brackets for those making more than $125,000, $500,000, and $250,000. I especially want to thank Majority Leader Carrie Evelyn Harris and Representative Sean Lynn for championing this issue. Our budget also eliminates, or our budget will eliminate, $50 million in medical debt for hardworking Delawareans, giving much needed relief to those struggling to cover the costs of basic care. And while we're on the subject, we need to get legislation on my desk that ensures that medical debt will not hurt someone's credit score. A medical emergency cannot be what prevents someone from buying a home or a car or sending their kids to school. Thank you, Senator Mansavinos and Representative Williams, for your partnership on these critical efforts. I want you to think for a moment about the history of our country's military, a complex history filled with the never-ending struggle for racial justice. Individuals who fought for our country overseas, then returned home to a nation that would not fight for them. Black infantry during the Civil War in Massachusetts and Kansas, the Tuskegee Airmen, and so many others fought for the America they wanted, not the America they had. And if we're being honest, our Delaware National Guard's history is reflective of our nation's struggle. But we're making progress. For the first time, I stand before you as a governor with an African American leading our Delaware National Guard. General Banson, would you please stand? Now, let me take a moment to speak directly to our veterans. As Representative Carson likes to say, 99% of Americans wake up each morning to enjoy their freedom and democracy, and 1% wake up each day to preserve and defend that very same freedom and democracy. There is no excuse for that service not to be honored here at home. 15 years ago, I was a U.S. diplomat living on an Army base, a U.S. Army base in wartime in Mosul, Iraq. I had a front row seat to the heroism and teamwork of American veterans. U.S. soldiers are shining examples of bravery, selflessness, and service. Every day, they put themselves in harm's way, literally risking their lives for the freedoms we celebrate. Representative Carson and I are collaborating on an amended version of House Bill 1 that I urge both chambers to pass. Let's work together to get Delaware veterans the cabinet secretary and support that they truly deserve. 11 years ago, after returning home from diplomatic service, I stood in a 7th grade classroom on the east side of Wilmington, and I was pissed off. I was pissed off because my students deserve more. My fellow educators deserve more. Kids and families that I serve never really had a fair shot. For Delaware to thrive, we must revamp the systems that train our next generation of leaders. That means investing in our classrooms, in our educators, and in our kids. That means rethinking old systems like our funding formula to create more efficient and equitable schools. We are working tirelessly to build an education system worthy of our students and their families, worthy of this moment, and focused on the problems of the future. That means taking a hard look at what we're doing, doubling down on what is working, and moving away from policies and programs that aren't. The work must begin not when kids start school, but at birth. I've heard it loud and clear from childcare providers and from families like mine that have small children. We need more staff, more seats, and more accessible and affordable childcare. No Delaware family should be going broke just so a qualified and trained adult can keep their child safe. Just think, if every child in our state entered kindergarten ready to learn, we would see reading and math scores improve and kids thrive, thanks to our investment in their most critical years of development. Over the next 4 years, we will look to expand access to affordable childcare and support our childcare providers. I know many in this room are the strongest partners in that endeavor. I can't name them all, but I know Lieutenant Governor Gay and our Speaker, Mimi Minor-Brown, as well as Senate Majority Whip Tizzy Lockman have been leaders in this effort, so thank you. And once children reach kindergarten, they must join the best K-12 public school system in the nation. But our outcomes, particularly our reading and math outcomes, are unacceptable. We should be the best state in the country, and our country should be the best in the world. When I saw our last 4th and 8th grade literacy scores, I declared a literacy emergency in our state. Because a society that cannot read is a society that cannot succeed. The solution is not one size fits all. It will take all of us, schools, libraries, community centers, healthcare partners, mentors, businesses, all rowing in the same direction. We will win the future through measurable, intelligent, and targeted literacy interventions. I was thrilled back in January to nominate Cindy Martin, an elementary school teacher, principal, superintendent, and national literacy expert, to be our Secretary of Education. In partnership with Secretary Martin and her team, our proposed budget invests in expanding and implementing proven literacy practices in struggling classrooms. Lucky for us, there are plenty of teachers who also know what's working. We have 3 principals with us today. Toriano Giddens from Town Point Elementary in the Capital School District. Zachary Huber from Phyllis Wheatley Elementary in Woodbridge School District. And from my alma mater, Harlan Elementary and Brandywine School District, Tracy Roberts. These courageous educators are leading the charge, rethinking how to best help their students recover from pandemic learning loss. In the last 2 years, Town Point's 3rd grade reading scores jumped 24 percentage points. Phyllis Wheatley's third grade reading scores jumped up 14 points. And Harlan's third grade reading scores jumped up 22 percentage points. Each of these schools has not only clawed its way back to pre-pandemic levels, but surpassed them. Thank you to these leaders, their staff, and every educator who wakes up each morning determined to improve the lives of our students. However, student success is not dependent on attention or money alone. One thing that does not help students succeed is cell phone use in schools. From bullying to TikTok, there's no reason for any student at any level in a Delaware public school to be using a cell phone in class. The research shows the developmental, emotional, social, and educational harm of cell phone usage by children. That's why my administration will work with districts and charters to get cell phones out of classrooms and students focused on what really matters. I've been lucky to have taught with some of the best teachers. When I was teaching 11 years ago in Wilmington, one of our top teachers, a former Teacher of the Year, left our public school for a better deal in Maryland to secure the necessary compensation to support his family. It's something I think about a lot. On my watch, we win by retaining our top talent. And nowhere is that more important than retaining educators in our classrooms. That's why Representative Williams, Senator Sturgeon, Senator Pettijohn, and Representative Michael Smith and others have led the Public Education Compensation Committee. They've developed a plan to raise educator salaries. Our proposed budget will invest over $75 million towards this goal to outcompete our neighboring states and make Delaware the best place to teach. We will keep pushing ourselves until we no longer chase surrounding states regarding educator pay. They should be chasing us. And when we allocate resources to education to our kids, who should decide how those resources are spent? During my time as Newcastle County Executive, we started our own program to give teachers part of the education budget so that teachers themselves can decide how to use it best in their own classroom. Over 1,300 Delaware teachers participated in this first-in-the-nation program. It was so successful that it was replicated in over 117,000 classrooms in 9 states, from Hawaii to Connecticut. I've always believed educators know best what their students need. Take, for instance, Maddie Geller, a literacy teacher at Lewis Dual Language Elementary in Wilmington. We owe a big debt of gratitude to Maddie and all the educators who go above and beyond to serve our students and communities. Right now, Ms. Geller has a plan to provide her students with a brand new set of decodable books for learning phonics. These books will allow her students to work independently, increasing both their literacy skills in 2 languages, in English and Spanish, and overall confidence. She's trying to get her project funded at donorschoose.com. Is it fully funded yet? Okay, good, fully funded. Donors Choose is one of several nonprofits that enable teachers to design innovative educational programs in their classroom and then receive funding directly from people all over the community, from friends and family usually. Our proposed budget provides $6 million, half from the state and half from private supporters, to fund thousands of projects like Ms. Geller's, allowing Delaware educators to direct money where they know it needs to go in their own classroom. Now that's putting money back in our classrooms and maximizing tax dollars for our students. To ensure equity across our state, however, we must acknowledge that a 21st century school system deserves a 21st century funding formula. In other words, we must ensure every school receives the targeted help it needs to thrive. Thank you to Senator Sturgeon and those on the Public Education Funding Commission working to update our school funding formula. We cannot ask our schools to prepare our students for the future with a funding model from the 1940s. Our students have waited long enough for a system that will help each of them achieve their full potential. That's why I'm calling on the legislature to pass a holistic funding reform framework before you begin summer vacation this year. Let's get this done. See, public education is the great equalizer in American society. It's an opportunity for every family to dream big about their future, but only if we direct resources equitably to address the real needs of kids and family, and we must do so with urgency. We cannot continue to simply identify problems. It's time to act, it's time to innovate, it's time to choose progress over process, and to deliver, not delay. Few things are more important to deliver to Delaware families than housing. Every Delawarean has a right to safe, stable, and affordable housing. The rent is still too damn high for too many families. We have a housing shortage which has already reached crisis levels. With stagnant wages and so few homes on the market, I'm sure you hear about it in your communities, that fewer families than ever have the real ability to achieve their American dream. Too often, our reaction to the limited affordable housing is to say why we can't, not why we must. The time has come to take decisive action to address our housing shortage, to lower cost and cut through the red tape. Our housing policy will streamline regulation and create smart, efficient systems to approve new and renovated housing for our workforce, for police officers, teachers, waiters, nurses, and our workforce of tomorrow. But this also means protecting our most vulnerable, especially when the federal government seems content to leave them behind. We must invest to give Delaware's most vulnerable residents pathways to stability and prosperity. It's not just the right thing to do. Done right, strong rehabilitation and support systems actually save money for all Delawareans. That's why next week I will sign an executive order to reconstitute the Delaware Interagency Council on Homelessness. Director Matt Heckles of the Delaware State Housing Authority will lead this body to deliver to our most vulnerable friends and neighbors the comprehensive support they need to get back on their feet. I also want to thank Senator Huxtable and Representative Johnson, who led the Affordable Housing Production Task Force. Now, I'm not a big fan of task forces, but their recommendations are action-oriented and set a real path forward to address the massive shortage in quality housing for working people across our state. In our proposed budget, we're making investments to increase workforce and affordable housing in Delaware, in cities and towns across the state, and replenishing the Housing Development Fund, providing critical support to Delawareans who need housing. In addition to our challenges around affordable and accessible housing, affordable and accessible health care remains elusive for too many in our state. Now, it's important to me as a Delawarean that the House pass Senate Bill 5, a constitutional amendment to protect reproductive freedom in our state. In addition, in 2025, no Delawarean should have to wait months and months to see a specialist or struggle to find a primary care doctor taking new patients. We are scrutinizing every regulation that prevents medical practices from expanding in Delaware. We must attract, grow, and retain the doctors and nurses we desperately need. Our emergency room wait times are exorbitant. Healthcare costs continue to skyrocket, and there are too few doctors to see those who need care. As many of you know, my amazing wife is an emergency room doctor. Just about every day, she tells me a news story about a grandmother who couldn't afford her medication, a father who waited too long to seek care and whose work injury is now infected, or a family who is so far in medical debt to pay for their son's cancer treatment that they're on the verge of losing their home. Expanding access to health care, especially for communities that have been traditionally underserved, is at the core of our administration's work. Even in these trying budget times, as we hear of federal cuts to state health programs, we are expanding the usage and services provided by our Division of Public Health mobile health units. These units will go into more communities and provide on-the-ground health care in places often underserved and overlooked. However, we need short-term and long-term solutions to strengthen healthcare accessibility across our state. And one of those long-term solutions is expanding medical educational opportunities in our state through a new medical school. While on the campaign trail, I met a young woman outside Dagsboro. She said she was looking forward to medical school. She went to high school and college in Delaware. She said that if it were up to her, she would stay right where she was in the state that she has loved since she was a child. But Delaware doesn't have a medical school, so her only choice was to leave. Data shows there's good chance she will never come back, because Delaware is one of only 4 states that does not have a medical school. We have a shortage of qualified medical professionals, particularly in Sussex and Kent counties. We must make Delaware a great place to train doctors, nurses, and medical support staff, recruiting and retaining the best and the brightest. That's why last month I named Dr. Neil Hochstein as our new chair of the Delaware Healthcare Commission. Dr. Hochstein is one of Delaware's most talented specialists, providing life-saving cancer treatment to so many of our friends and neighbors. I've asked him to lead the effort to expand medical education for students from Delaware and to attract students to Delaware. Dr. Hochstein, thank you for your service to our community for decades and your leadership of the Healthcare Commission. But healthcare is not just about going to the doctor. Dad, I can hear you telling me, you are what you eat, kid. And food can be and food is medicine. Here in our administration, that is a priority. One way we support that priority is through supporting Delaware's vibrant agricultural sector. Grow local, eat your vegetables. We're also partnering in innovative ways to truly use food as medicine. Take our farm to pharmacy pilot. Medicaid and Medicare patients with diet-related chronic conditions pick up fresh, locally sourced produce at the same place they receive health care. This farm to pharmacy program allows patients to access fresh produce alongside their medications, health education, and wellness services wherever they usually go, like at Focus Pharmacy, a trusted family-owned pharmacy in Smyrna. Focus Pharmacy in Smyrna also purchases directly from Delaware farmers, improving patient health and boosting our local agricultural economy. The Farm to Pharmacy pilot is a model for our future of healthcare, built on prevention, community, and the power of Delaware's farmers. Dr. T. Warren, owner of Focus Pharmacy, and Kimberly Robin, owner of Atlantic Apothecary in Camden. Stand up. The two of them created the Farm to Pharmacy program and are with us today. So we all need to give them thanks for bringing healthcare and nutrition in creative and innovative ways to Delawareans. This also brings me to medical professionals who deliver health in our most urgent moments, our brave paramedics. Our paramedics are doing extraordinary work every day, bringing cutting-edge mobile emergency rooms literally to your door, doing life-saving blood transfusions on the side of the road, and making snap decisions that save the lives of so many Delawareans. In our budget this year, we proposed the highest increase in investment in our paramedic service in decades. Partnering with each county government, this investment will get paramedics to your door faster. Even during the most challenging of budget years, we will continue to invest in life-saving first response and emergency services. I'm also excited to back Representative Morrison's bill to create an Office of Suicide Prevention. And while we don't know yet what future changes to Medicaid will look like, my pledge to you is that health and well-being of Delawareans is my top priority every day I am your governor. Your First Lady is adamant that every Delawarean deserves the highest quality American health care, innovative 21st century care from cradle to grave, from the emergency room to the operating room, from smart, preventative, value-based care to end-of-life care, and she's going to make sure we deliver. Each day since I became your governor, I've been in awe of the work of so many of our state employees. I've been inspired by what I know we can accomplish working together to build an innovative, efficient, and responsive state government. A government that can get big things done. A government that can respond quickly to threats and emergencies. And a government that is both able to reflect on its actions and look to new places for ideas and action. Government that can articulate and execute a vision for our future. A more just future, a more abundant future, a future distinctly different from the realities of our past and our present. And a government that cuts some programs and costs using a scalpel, not a chainsaw. We will remake our state government so it works better for you. Take workforce development. Our state spreads workforce development across multiple state agencies. And too often we do things simply because that's how they've always been done. We will streamline these efforts into a single office with measurable goals and transparent funding. We have an outdated unemployment insurance system. Let's update it and strengthen it. We have complicated permitting processes that frustrate so many Delawareans. Let's modernize them. Fixing systems like these may not be flashy or easy, but it makes a difference in people's lives. I'm committed to eliminating bureaucracy and creating a government that people trust and that solves the problems of today by pulling us closer to the tomorrow that we all deserve. And regarding transparency and public accountability, this state needs an independent inspector general. We need an office that's working every day to uncover fraud and inefficiencies, to return money to the taxpayers, and give all of us confidence that there is real accountability in government. Because here's the thing, people work damn hard for their money, and they want to see their investment spent wisely. They want to see a return on their investment in all of us in the state. Every Delawarean should feel pride when they see the work we do on their behalf and the investments we make in them and in their families. At a time when the federal government is slashing education, healthcare, arts, libraries, and services for veterans, I want you to know you have a government who does believe in spending smart for you. You should feel like you're getting a good deal with excellent roads and affordable homes, clean air and water, and schools that truly do prepare our kids for the economy of 2030 and beyond. And when we talk about the importance of government efficiency and effective collaboration, we see evidence of good work already being done right here in Delaware, just in the past few months in response to bird flu. Thanks to an effort led by our Department of Agriculture and Secretary Clifton, we were able to limit bird flu to only 3 cases in our state. Collaboration across sectors and between government and the private sector is what keeps us safe and ensures that our food supply chain can continue to thrive. This incredible state response to a national outbreak is a shining example of what fast-moving and efficient government can accomplish when we work together. Delawareans deserve to prosper in a 21st century economy with innovative products delivered across the globe. We will focus our economic development dollars on strategic investments in both small businesses and growing industries, in life sciences and material chemistry, in financial technologies and agriculture. We are truly global leaders. With innovative and strategic investments, we can expand economic opportunities for tens of thousands of Delawareans for generations to come. Over the last several years, we've seen exciting developments. Thanks to the efforts of the Delaware Prosperity Partnership and others, businesses continue to choose Delaware. I hope you will join me in thanking Senator Walsh, Senator Pettyjohn, Representative Bush, and Representative Yerrick for their service on the DPP board. But our focus cannot just be on recruiting new companies. The best way to grow an economy is to create and expand companies right here at home. One untapped gem for our state is the Port of Wilmington. Under my administration, we plan to actually get the long-discussed expansion done, creating thousands of good-paying jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars in economic impact for the state. This also means providing creative support for startups in our state, creating a climate for small businesses to grow and thrive, and using incentives to lift Delawareans. We must also work to expand manufacturing opportunities, from spacesuits to chocolate to components in nearly every cell phone. So much is actually made today in Delaware. We must remove regulatory barriers to production and ensure Delaware is indeed the best place to create and grow a 21st century manufacturer. And for companies that are here or looking to come here, we have some of the best higher education institutions in the nation. The University of Delaware is a hub of innovative leadership. Delaware State University continues to lead with its Early Childhood Innovation Center. And Del Tech provides critical workforce development to countless industries. Now, I didn't bring any samples with me, but let's talk about the green elephant in the room, and that's the delayed opening of Delaware's recreational marijuana market. This industry has the potential to produce tens of millions of dollars in annual tax revenue, money meant to be invested directly into our schools, our libraries, and communities, money that could be used to cover federal funding shortfalls and address historic inequities created by a drug war. Instead, the FBI's insistence that Delaware's original recreational marijuana law is insufficient is just another egregious example of federal bureaucracy stifling state-led innovation. We appreciate your leadership, in particular Majority Whip Osinski, to address this quickly through legislation. That's right. We will continue to push the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice to act appropriately so we can get what Delawareans clearly want. One thing I can assure you, we will name a new marijuana commissioner within days. We'll cut through federal bureaucracy, and we will work with urgency to meet the promise that you all made to have legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Delaware. In closing, now, they said I had up to 25 hours, but in closing, in this time of tremendous challenge and division across our nation, there is tremendous opportunity for Delaware. Everywhere I go, north, south, urban, rural, I hear the same things. People don't want handouts. They just want a fair shot. They want a government that works, a responsible government that's honest about our past and willing to provide real opportunity for our future. We may have to tighten our belts and take a hard look at how we currently do things, but we also have the chance to evolve, to innovate, to rethink and reimagine old systems, to take steps and introduce programs that genuinely lead the nation. At a time of such change, some states are gonna win. Let's win. Together we can. We can build a world-class school system. We can build affordable and stable housing. We can invest in healthcare that every family can access and streamline government by eliminating red tape. Together we will fight for fundamental rights. And together we will restore your faith in Delaware's ability to make big things happen. Because our state is hopeful, and our state is fearless, and the state of our state is strong. We are ready to meet this moment. We are ready to meet this moment and prove to the world that Delaware does deliver. May God bless the extraordinary heroes in our National Guard. May God bless our state, and may God bless our United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor, for your address. Will the Escort Committee please reassemble and escort the Governor to his executive offices?
Should I go right or left? Right or left? Other way?